Yo, what's up guys, it's Z. Welcome to another gameplay commentary. Just to be blunt, I don't want to spend my whole life working. I just don't think I was born on this planet to slave away doing a chosen task over and over and over again to the day I die. I already have a limited amount of time on this earth, and wasting it and doing some random task over and over and over again is not my ideal picture of a well-lived life. I just don't think that's how humans should live. I think the systems in place before were out of necessity, and they work. The system worked in the past. However, I think it needs to adapt. Back then, everyone had a role for society, a function. You needed seamstress ladies, you needed cashiers, you needed traders, you needed dock workers, smiths, leather workers, etc. But now machines and manufacturing stations and lines are making these labors a lot more efficient and easy. But now, as we progress to the modern age, I don't think we all have to work and struggle for half our lives just to afford a place to sleep and a warm meal to eat. Instead, I think as human beings, we're meant to experience life and all the beauties that come with it for us to unravel. What about all those movies about passions and following your dreams? So many times I've heard of people who just work to pay the bills and have had to put their passions aside or their dreams on hold just because life got in the way, they're not in the right financial position, and some of them don't even get the opportunity to even explore them. When half your day is prepping for work, going to work, like commuting, being at work, and then decompressing from work, you don't have enough time in the day to even sit with yourself and think about what's happening. I've noticed this happen to me a lot. You're too tired to work on your art, your passion, practice instruments, any type of hobby really, just because you want to rest. I remember working all week late night and then having to open, and all my off days just became recovery days basically. I would go on autopilot and just try to get through the week until before I knew it, months, then years have passed. And what did I really even do? Just this random job, for example, making smoothies. Spending months making smoothies is not how I believe someone should spend their limited time on Earth. Now look, I know what you're thinking, but Z, who's gonna make you the orange dream machine smoothie from Jamba Juice? And you're right, this video is just my feelings and thoughts that I think a lot of people could relate to and share similar feelings and thoughts. The present day works, even though it's flawed to the core. Everyone has a role, nothing is free, and somebody always has to pay. I just think it's reasonable to want to experience more of your life and not be working till you're 70 just to afford to live. Look, we can get into a lot of philosophies and debates, and I respect all of your opinions. I hope to have a nice discussion in the comments possibly, but this is just my take and my feelings on the matter, and it's totally fine if you have a different belief. But a discussion I want to bring up is whether or not food and shelter is a basic human right, versus the argument that everyone needs to pull their own weight, which I think is also true. I personally, quote personally, believe everyone should at least have shelter and food/water. I think that's pretty reasonable. And look, I'm not a super political guy. I don't know the inner workings of everything. I think the way we handle our money and the government spending is quite dysfunctional. I think in a hypothetical world, we could budget and allocate funds where everyone could have their own house and be fed. Of course, there's a lot of systems in place and a lot of things that would need to change to realistically happen. And the whole reason I brought this up is I just think we spend too much of our life and youth focusing on surviving, instead of prioritizing and focusing on more of the things that make us human. Creating art, connecting, music, passion. And it's not that these things are absent and completely void in our present life. You have awesome art, music, gaming, cinematic experiences that are super inspired and creative coming out every day. But what I'm saying is it's becoming more of a privilege for normal people to engage in these passions when it's not your work. And it's not all about creating art and music and creating things from the soul. It's also about just spending time with your family and friends. You don't have that much time. Like, I'm sure everyone has seen that Christmas special of the CEO in that giant skyscraper looking down, and then he misses the Christmas with his family, and then the ghost of Christmas's past comes to him and shows him what he's missing out on, and then he regrets it and everything, and the blah blah blah. You know what I'm talking about? And if you don't, whatever. Exercising and improving your health. I've seen people become very unhealthy because they're stuck in front of their desk 24/7. Traveling, experiencing different cultures, learning new skills, and just basic personal development. It's also interesting to think about the negatives, because as much as everyone would like to see the benefits of no work, there are plenty of negatives that can arise and are worth discussing. Like, for example, France. It's known as a center of global conversations about leisure, labor, capitalism, and quality of life. France lowered the amount of weekly hours worked. They give you 5 weeks of vacation to avoid burnout. Many people still work hard though, but it gives them a certain baseline, a work culture. The idea that your work is not supposed to consume your life. Their philosophy is meals, conversation, art, is time off that should be treated with importance. And leisure isn't laziness, it's a balance that you need to find for a well-lived life. There is downsides. This can lead to things such as economic inflexibility, slow reforms, and etc. Would people go crazy with all their newfound freedom? What exactly would happen? Just like how we are unsure of that, we are unsure of the future of AI and how automated jobs would work. People speculate we're going to start moving towards that, and all the easier jobs like fast food, for example, will all be automated, with probably just like one person there to make sure everything's running and everything's in order, like doing the stuff that robots can't do. I think they would honestly do a better job than the human counterparts for this instance. Like, I don't think they're gonna get my order wrong or be slow and follow all the health regulations and guidelines. That future is not here yet though. And the reality is you have to find some way to make money in order to survive. And that daily stress that most of us have to deal with can cause a lot of friction in our lives that we now think is normal and ordinary. We just think, oh, this is just what we do. This is what everyone does. Which is true. This is how the world works, right? And again, this video was just to share my own thoughts. The reality really sat in for me, and I realized doing this forever really does feel like a sacrifice for my life. Look, I just wish that money wasn't a center focus in our society. But of course, if you want nice things, you have to work hard. So that also encourages innovation and competition in markets. And I can't be completely mad, right? Working, I get to buy nice things. Like having a PS5. They wouldn't even make the PS5 if no one was buying it, if no one was working. You need a certain level of income for all these things. Having a nice PC, or playing video games, or going out to eat, going out to dates, and enjoying life. Really thinking about it, it's not the worst system ever, but I think it can be a lot better. If you ever travel outside of the country, maybe you can see a glimpse of how people really enjoy life compared to America. I know in Europe when I visited, everyone was on the streets just talking, drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes. Every corner, people were just walking around and talking and meeting each other and speaking. Everyone just seemed more happy. Everyone was actually involved in life. And when I come to America, I realize I see the culture of just, grinding, working, buying things, supporting your own family and everything. And that's fine. Look, there's nothing wrong with that. I just wanted to bring up the dichotomy, kind of. I hope for now everyone can find something that's tolerable or something that doesn't suck the soul out of them. We only have a limited amount of time on this earth, so let's not spend it suffering and doing something that completely drains us and makes us feel like we're dead anyways. Life is about living and enjoying it. But in this reality, the simple truth is, everyone has to work. It's not like this is the only option, however. There are alternatives. You can find passive ways to make income, like vending machines, owning property, businesses, etc. So you can still make money while having financial freedom to do what you want and enjoy life. Hopefully everyone can eventually find a way to live on their own terms. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one. Please enjoy the rest of the gameplay. I'm just gonna leave it running. We were outnumbered almost the entire match, and we just barely won, but I'm glad we came away with the victory.
Enemy spy plane above. Time's almost up. accomplished. Good work.